The conference room aboard the Stellar Aegis was massive. Captain Lee Minji stood at the back, her hands clasped behind her uniform. Around the circular table sat commanders from 12 different species. Some had scales, some had fur, some didn't have faces she could recognize at all, but they all had one thing in common. They looked at her like she didn't belong. Admiral Velthor sat at the head of the table. He was Kralix, tall and armored with thick purple plates covering his body. His 4 eyes blinked independently as he studied the holographic display floating above the table. The display showed a creature. It was huge, easily 3 kilometers long. Its body was covered in black bioarmor that seemed to shift and move on its own. The creature had destroyed 3 colonies in the past month. Thousands were dead. The Ravager, Velthor said, his voice deep and rumbling. It has evaded 7 battle groups. It adapts to every strategy we employ. Today, we will discuss the final assault. Minji listened carefully. She had studied every report about this creature. Every attack pattern. Every escape route it had used. She saw something the others didn't. A pattern, a weakness they could exploit. One by one, the commanders offered their suggestions. Commander Thexel of the Vorten Empire suggested overwhelming firepower. Sub-Commander Krelix proposed containment fields and systematic bombardment. Each plan was the same. Hit it hard. Hit it fast. Use superior numbers and technology. Minji waited for her turn. She knew it would come eventually, even if they didn't want to hear from her. Captain Lee, Velthor finally said. He didn't look at her. Does Earth have any input? Several commanders made sounds that might have been laughter. Minji straightened her shoulders and walked forward to the table. Yes, Admiral, she said clearly. I believe we're approaching this wrong. The room went quiet. Then someone definitely laughed. Wrong? Velthor's eyes all focused on her now. Please, enlighten us. Minji activated her own datapad. A new hologram appeared, showing the Ravager's movement patterns overlaid with terrain data. The creature isn't just running. It's defending territory. Look at the colonies it attacked. They're all within 50 light-years of the Theta 9 sector. It circles back there after every encounter. Predators hunt, said Commander Thexal dismissively. This is known. Predators on Earth do something else too, Minji continued. They protect their young, their nesting sites. I believe the Ravager is guarding something in that sector. If we can identify what it's protecting, we can predict its movements. We can set an ambush that actually works. Velthor leaned back in his chair. Captain Lee, humanity joined the Galactic Defense Initiative 3 years ago. Your species has never faced a true apex predator in space. You barely survived the predators on your own planet. And now you presume to lecture commanders who have fought such creatures for centuries? With respect, Admiral, those centuries of fighting haven't stopped this one creature. The room erupted. Several commanders spoke at once in languages Minji didn't understand. The translation device in her ear struggled to keep up. But she caught words like arrogant and primitive and inexperienced. Velthor raised one massive hand. The room fell silent. Your theory is noted, Captain, he said coldly. However, we will proceed with proven tactics. Your team will be assigned to perimeter observation during the engagement. You will monitor long-range sensors and report any anomalies. Nothing more. Minji felt her jaw tighten. Perimeter observation. They were being sidelined. Put where they couldn't interfere, or more likely, where they couldn't embarrass the coalition when they succeeded. Understood. Admiral, she said quietly. She returned to her position at the back of the room. The meeting continued without her input. They finalized their plan. A 3-pronged assault with 40 ships. Containment fields. Heavy plasma bombardment. Standard procedure for a large hostile. It would fail. Minji knew it would fail. But no one wanted to hear that from a human. After the meeting ended, Minji walked through the corridors of the Stellar Aegis back to the human section of the ship. It was small, just 3 decks near the engineering level. The Coalition had given Earth 10 positions on this ship. 10 people to represent an entire planet. Commander Park Hyeron was waiting in their tiny operations room. She looked up when Minji entered. They didn't listen, Hyeron said. It wasn't a question. No, Minji replied. She sat down heavily in her chair. We're on observation duty. Hyeron's expression darkened. We're always on observation duty. They bring us along to check a box. Look, we included humanity. But they don't actually want our input. Can you blame them? The voice came from the corner. Private Kang Do-yoon sat at a monitoring station, his eyes on the screens in front of him. He was young, maybe 22. Quiet. He rarely spoke during briefings, but Minji had noticed he paid attention to everything. "What do you mean?" Minji asked. Do-yoon turned to face her. "We're the new species, Captain. The youngest. Every other race in the coalition has been in space for thousands of years. We've been out here for what, 50? They see us as children. Dangerous children maybe, but still children. That doesn't make them right," Hyerin said sharply. "No," Do-yoon agreed, "but it explains why they won't listen." Minji studied the young private. She'd read his file. He'd grown up on Earth in the countryside. His family had been farmers. He'd scored well enough on the aptitude test to join the space program, but his personnel notes mentioned he spent most of his free time studying animal behavior, an odd hobby for a soldier. "Do-yoon," Minji said, "you've been tracking the Ravager's movements. What do you see?" The private pulled up his own data. The hologram showed weeks of tracking information, movement patterns plotted in 3 dimensions. "The Admiral is right about one thing. The creature is intelligent. But I think you're right too, Captain. Look at this." He highlighted a section of space near the Theta 9 sector. "Every time the Ravager engages with our forces, it moves in this direction afterward. Not randomly. Not to the nearest cover. Specifically here. And the way it moves..." He paused. "It reminds me of something." "Of what?" Minji leaned closer to the hologram. "A wolf, Captain. Back on Earth. When wolves have pups, they lead threats away from the den. They fight, then retreat. But they always retreat in a direction that doesn't reveal where the pups are hidden. The Ravager does the same thing. It fights, then moves away. But if you track the angles, the directions it doesn't go..." Do-yoon adjusted the display. "There's a zone it never enters. Right here." Minji felt a chill run down her spine. "It's hurting us. The Ravager is controlling where we go." "Maybe," Do-yoon said. "Or maybe it's just protecting something we haven't found yet." Hyerin crossed her arms. "If you're right, the Admiral's plan is going to fail. They're sailing right into another engagement without understanding what they're fighting." "They'll figure it out," Minji said, but she didn't sound convinced. "They have to." The 3 of them stood in silence, staring at the hologram. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the Ravager waited, and in less than 12 hours, the combined might of the Galactic Defense Initiative would face it again. Minji hoped she was wrong. She hoped the Admiral's experience and superior firepower would be enough. But deep down in the part of her that had learned to trust her instincts, she knew better. The Ravager had survived this long for a reason. It was smart. It was adaptable. And they were about to learn just how dangerous an apex predator could be when you threatened what it loved. Do-yoon worked for 3 hours straight. His hands moved carefully, mixing compounds from the shuttle's medical supplies. The antidote had to be perfect. Too weak and it wouldn't work. Too strong and it might harm the Ravager further. Minji watched him work. The young private had been so quiet during their time in the coalition, easy to overlook. But now she saw the focus in his eyes, the careful precision of his movements. He wasn't just a soldier. He was someone who cared deeply about living things, even dangerous ones. "Done," Do-yoon finally said. He held up a sealed container. Inside was a thick blue liquid. "This should neutralize the poison, but Captain, I need to be close to apply it. Very close." "How close?" Minji asked, though she already knew the answer. "Touching distance." Jinha shook his head. "That's suicide. One swipe from that creature and you're gone." "I know," Do-yoon said calmly. "But it's the only way. The poison is deep in its tissue. I can't just spray it from a distance. I need to inject it directly into the wounds." Minji looked at the young man. "Are you sure about this?" Do-yoon met her eyes. "My whole life people told me studying animals was useless. My parents wanted me to be an engineer. The military almost rejected me because my test scores were unfocused. But I've always believed that understanding creatures, respecting them, was important. This is my chance to prove it." "Yoon," Minji said, "did you find a relocation site?" The pilot nodded. "Sector 447 Delta. No colonies within 200 light-years. Similar asteroid density. 3 planets in the system that could support the hatchlings when they mature. It's perfect." "Then we have a plan," Minji said. "We treat the Ravager's wounds. We show it the new location. We guide it there. And if it doesn't want to go? Jinha asked. Then we tried, Minji said simply. We tried something different than just shooting at it. They prepared carefully. Doyen loaded the antidote into injection devices, medical foam to seal the wounds after treatment, portable scanner to monitor the Ravager's condition. He looked over his equipment one more time, then nodded to Minji. Ready? Yoon brought the shuttle back toward the nest, slower this time. Broadcasting on open frequencies, though they had no idea if the Ravager could understand. Minji activated the external speakers. We're not here to hurt you, she said, knowing it probably couldn't understand words. But maybe it would understand tone, intent. We want to help. The Ravager emerged from its nest again. It watched their approach with those intelligent eyes. Setting down on that asteroid, Yoon said, pointing to a flat surface about 50 meters from the creature. Close enough to reach, far enough to maybe survive if this goes wrong. The shuttle landed with barely a bump. Doyun stood, gathering his medical supplies. I should go with you, Jinha said. No, Doyun replied. Too many people will seem like a threat. Just me, alone, unarmed. He removed his sidearm, handing it to Jinha. Then he walked to the airlock. Minji stopped him with a hand on his shoulder. Private, if this works, you'll be famous. If it doesn't work. I know, Captain, Doyen said. He smiled slightly. Either way, I'll be doing something that matters. The airlock cycled open. Doyen stepped out onto the asteroid surface. His suit's magnetic boots locked him in place. The Ravager loomed above him, impossibly large. Inside the shuttle, Minji switched on all external cameras. She wanted to capture every moment of this. If Doyen died, at least there would be a record. Evidence that they tried. Doyen began walking toward the creature. Slow steps. His hands were visible, holding the medical kit. No weapons. No threatening movements. The Ravager's head lowered. Its mouth was big enough to swallow Doyen whole. One bite. That's all it would take. Doyen kept walking. What is he doing? Jinha whispered. His job, Minji replied, her voice tight. Doyen stopped about 10 meters from the Ravager. He slowly, carefully, set the medical kit on the ground. Then he stepped back from it. Another gesture. See? Not a threat, just offering help. The Ravager's body pulsed with light. That same EMP warning it had used before. Doyun's suit flickered but stayed active. He didn't run, didn't move at all. Long seconds passed. Then the creature did something unexpected. It extended one of its limbs toward Doyun. Slowly, almost carefully. The limb had a large wound on it, still seeping fluid. One of the poisoned injuries. It was showing him where it hurt. Did it just? Yoon started. It understands, Minji said, her voice filled with wonder. It knows he's trying to help. Doyun picked up the medical kit. He walked forward, closing the distance. His hands were steady as he removed the first injection device. The wound was at chest height for him. He could reach it easily. He looked up at the Ravager. This is going to sting, he said quietly. Then he pressed the injector against the wound and activated it. The blue antidote pumped into the creature's tissue. The Ravager's body went rigid. Its limb twitched. For a horrible moment, Minji thought it was going to attack. But it didn't. The creature held still, letting Doyun work. He applied the medical foam to seal the wound. Then he moved to the next injury, and the next. There were 7 major wounds, all poisoned. Doyun treated each one with the same careful attention. The worst wound was near the Ravager's head, close to what might have been its neck. The poison had spread deep there. Doyun had to inject directly into the damaged tissue. When the antidote hit that wound, the Ravager made a sound. It wasn't the terrifying scream they had heard in battle. It wasn't the pulse of energy it used to disable ships. It was something else entirely. A whimper, low and vulnerable. the sound of a creature in pain, finally getting relief. The sound transmitted across all the active comm channels. Back on the stellar Aegis, Minji knew people were hearing this. Admiral Velthor was hearing this. The entire Coalition fleet was hearing the apex predator, the monster that had destroyed 12 ships, make a sound of weakness, of trust. Doyen finished treating the wound. He stepped back, his medical supplies exhausted. "That's all I can do," he said. "The antidote will take time to work fully, but the poison should stop spreading." The Ravager watched him. Then, slowly, it lowered its massive head until it was level with Doyen. This close, the creature could have killed him instantly. Instead, it just looked at him. Doyen reached out one hand. Slowly, carefully, he placed it on the Ravager's armored snout. "You're going to be okay," he said softly. "But you need to leave here. It's not safe anymore. We found you. Others will too." As if the creature understood, it pulled back slightly. Its body pulsed with light again, but different this time. Not an attack, more like communication. Doyen turned and walked back to the shuttle. His steps were steady, but Minji could see his hands shaking as he reached the airlock. The moment he was inside, Jinha pulled him into a hug. "You crazy, brilliant bastard." Yoon was wiping tears from her eyes. "I can't believe that worked." Minji helped Doyen out of his suit. "How do you feel?" "Terrified," Doyen admitted. "But also, it was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced. That creature, Captain, it's intelligent, really intelligent, not human intelligent, but aware, feeling. It understood what I was trying to do." Minji pulled up the communication logs. Messages were flooding in from the stellar Aegis. Most demanded they return immediately. But one message was different, from Admiral Velthor. Just 2 words. "Stand by." "What now?" Yoon asked. Minji looked out at the Ravager. It had returned to its eggs, coiling protectively around them. But it was watching the shuttle, waiting. "Now we show it the way home," Minji said. "The real home, where it can be safe." She activated the external display, projecting a hologram into space. The star map showed their current location and the route to Sector 447 Delta, the new territory they had found. "Can it understand star maps?" Jinha asked skeptically. "Let's find out," Minji replied. She enhanced the projection, making it clearer. Added images of asteroids, of space similar to this area. A home, a safe place. The Ravager's eyes followed the hologram. Its head tilted, studying the display. Then it moved. Carefully, gently, it gathered its eggs. Each one was lifted with surprising delicacy and secured against its body. When all 7 were safely positioned, the creature looked back at the shuttle, waiting for them to lead the way. "Yoon," Minji said quietly, "plot a course to Sector 447 Delta. Nice and slow. We've got precious cargo following us." The pilot's hands flew over the controls. "Course plotted. Captain, this is going to take weeks at the Ravager's speed." "Then we take weeks," Minji said. "We see this through." As the shuttle began to move, the Ravager followed, not attacking, not threatening, just following, like a lost animal being guided home. Minji opened a communication channel to the stellar Aegis. "Admiral Velthor, this is Captain Lee Minji. I am escorting the Ravager to a relocation site. It is carrying eggs. I repeat, it is a parent protecting its young. The creature is no longer a threat if we stop threatening it. Requesting support vessels to help ensure safe passage." There was a long silence. Then Velthor's voice came through and he sounded different. Older, tired. "Granted, Captain Lee. Support ships are being dispatched. And Captain, well done." Minji closed her eyes briefly. They had done it. They had found another way. Behind them, the Ravager followed peacefully, its whimper still echoing in everyone's memory. The sound that changed everything. The fleet moved into position around Colony Theta 9. What remained of the colony anyway? The gas mining station floated in pieces, torn apart like paper. Bodies still drifted in the debris field. Minji watched from the observation deck of the human shuttle. Position 3,000 kilometers from the main battle group. All units, maintain formation. Admiral Velthor's voice came through the communications channel. Containment teams, activate fields on my mark. 40 ships spread out in a perfect grid pattern. Cruisers, destroyers, and fighters all armed with the most advanced weapons the Coalition could provide. It looked impressive, overwhelming. Minji didn't feel reassured. Sensors show nothing, Lieutenant Choi Jinha reported from the weapons station. He was the only other human besides Minji, Hierin, and Doyen on this mission. The rest of their small team was back on the stellar Aegis. No thermal signatures. No movement. It's here, Doyen said quietly. He sat at his own station, eyes fixed on his screens. It's watching. How can you tell? Gina asked. Doyen pointed to a cluster of asteroids near the edge of the debris field. The smaller debris. It's moving wrong. Not drifting. Something's disturbing it. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared across all channels. Contact, someone shouted. Bearing 270, range 50 kilometers and closing fast. The Ravager appeared. Minji had seen the images, but nothing prepared her for seeing it in person. The creature was massive, its body longer than the largest Coalition cruiser. Its bioarmor wasn't smooth. It was layered, overlapping plates that shifted and moved. Energy crackled along its spine. Its head, if you could call it that, was mostly mouth. Rows and rows of teeth designed to tear through ship hulls. All units fire, Velthor commanded. The fleet opened up. Plasma bolts, missiles, energy beams, everything the Coalition had. The space between them and the Ravager lit up like a star. Explosions bloomed across the creature's armor. For a moment, Minji hoped it would be enough. Then the Ravager screamed. It wasn't a sound exactly. It was a pulse, an EMP burst that rippled through space. Half the fleet's shields flickered and died. The creature dove into the formation like a shark into a school of fish. Evasive maneuvers, Velthor shouted, but it was too late. The Ravager's tail whipped around, catching a destroyer across its midsection. The ship broke in half. Atmosphere vented in frozen clouds. The creature's claws tore through a cruiser's hull like it was nothing. Another ship tried to retreat, but the Ravager was faster. It coiled around the vessel and crushed it. 6 ships gone in less than 2 minutes. Containment fields now, Velthor ordered. 3 specialized ships activated their field generators. Energy nets spread out, trying to trap the Ravager. The creature saw them coming. It twisted, impossibly fast for something so large, and dodged 2 of the nets. The third caught its tail. The Ravager turned and fired the same EMP pulse directly at the field generator. The ship's systems exploded. The net dissolved. It learned, Hierin whispered. It knows what the containment fields are. It's targeting the generators first. Minji watched in horror as the battle unfolded. Every tactic the Admiral tried, the Ravager countered. It anticipated their movements. When they tried to surround it, it broke through the weakest point. When they concentrated fire, it used debris as cover. When fighters tried to flank it, the creature's tail swept them from space like insects. This isn't hunting behavior, Doyen said. His voice was shaking slightly. It's not trying to kill everyone. Look at its targets, Minji looked closer. He was right. The Ravager was destroying ships, yes, but it was choosing specific ones. Command vessels. Ships with heavy weapons. It was eliminating threats systematically. It's fought us before, Minji realized. It knows our tactics. Our ship classifications, everything. Another cruiser exploded. The Ravager moved through the debris. Its armor barely scratched despite hundreds of direct hits. Whatever that bioarmor was made from, it was nearly indestructible. Fall back, Velthor commanded. All units retreat to Rally Point Beta. The fleet tried to disengage, but the Ravager wasn't done. It pursued the fleeing ships, picking off the slower ones. Escape pods launched from dying vessels. Some made it. Many didn't. Then the creature did something that made Minji's blood run cold. It stopped. The Ravager halted its pursuit. It turned slowly and looked directly at the human shuttle. Did it just... Jinha started. It sees us, Doyen said. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Ravager floated in space, its massive head pointed at their tiny ship. Minji could feel everyone holding their breath. They were unarmed. A single swipe from that creature would end them. The Ravager's body pulsed with light. Then it turned and vanished into the asteroid field. Why didn't it attack us? Hierin asked. Minji didn't have an answer. But something Doyen had said earlier came back to her. The creature was herding them, controlling where they went. It wanted us to see, Minji said slowly. It wanted the fleet to see what it can do. The communications channel crackled with panicked voices. Casualty reports. Damage assessments. 12 ships destroyed. 8 more badly damaged. Over 3,000 dead. Admiral Velthor's voice cut through the chaos. All ships return to the stellar aegis. We regroup and reassess. The fleet limped away from the battle site. The human shuttle followed at a distance, Captain, Doyen said. He was still watching his sensors. The Ravager. I'm tracking it. Where is it going? Minji asked. Doyen pulled up his display. The creature's path was marked in red. The same place it always goes. That empty zone I showed you before. Minji studied the trajectory. The Ravager wasn't fleeing randomly. It was going home. Back aboard the stellar aegis, the mood was grim. The ship's medical bay was overflowing with injured crew. The hangar was filled with damaged fighters and shuttles. Minji walked through the corridors, seeing the faces of species who had never known defeat. Now they knew fear. The emergency command meeting was smaller this time. Only senior officers. Minji wasn't invited, but Commander Hiron was present as Earth's representative. Through the closed doors, Minji could hear Admiral Velthor's voice. He was angry, frustrated. The Coalition had never faced something like this before. An opponent that learned, that adapted, that couldn't be beaten with conventional tactics. Hiron emerged 30 minutes later. Her expression was dark. They're planning another assault, she told Minji. Bigger. More ships. The Admiral requested reinforcements from the home fleet. That won't work, Minji said. I told them that. I told them your theory about the creature protecting something. They didn't want to hear it. Hiron's voice was bitter. Velthor said, and I quote, "We will not be lectured on military strategy by a species that still fights with chemical projectiles." Minji felt anger rise in her chest. Chemical projectiles. He meant bullets. Earth still used guns alongside energy weapons. The Coalition saw it as primitive. How long until the reinforcements arrive? Minji asked. I'd 72 hours, 3 days. 3 days before they threw more lives at a creature that had already proven it could beat them. Minji made a decision. She found Doyen in the observation room, still studying his tracking data. Jinha was with him, along with Corporal Yoon Seo-hyun, their pilot. I need you to answer something honestly, Minji said to them. Do you trust me? The three of them exchanged glances. Then Doyen nodded. Yes, Captain. Good, Minji said. Because we're going to do something that will probably get us court-martialed. Hiron appeared in the doorway. She must have followed Minji. What are you planning? Minji pulled up Doyen's tracking data on the main display. We're going to find what the Ravager is protecting. We're going to go into that zone. It keeps circling, and we're going to figure out how to end this without more people dying. The Admiral will never authorize that, Hiron said. I know, Minji replied. That's why we're not asking permission. The room fell silent. What Minji was suggesting was more than just breaking orders. It was mutiny. It was taking a ship without authorization into hostile territory. We could die, Jinha said quietly. Yes, Minji agreed. But if we don't do this, thousands more will die when that next assault fails. The Ravager has beaten us twice now. It will beat us again, unless we try something different. Doyen stood up. I'm in, Yoon spoke next. Someone has to fly you there. Might as well be me, Jinha took longer. Finally, he nodded. Earth didn't send us out here to watch from the sidelines. Yeren looked at Minji for a long moment. Then she smiled hard and sharp. I'll cover for you as long as I can. But Minji, if you're wrong about this, then it won't matter, Minji said, because we'll be dead. The shuttle left the stellar aegis at 0300 ship time. Most of the crew was asleep. The Skeleton Watch crew saw them leave, but Hiron had filed a fake mission report, a routine sensor calibration run, nothing unusual. By the time anyone noticed they were heading toward the restricted zone, it would be too late to stop them. Yoon sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. The shuttle was small, designed for reconnaissance. It had good sensors and even better stealth capabilities. If they were going to get close to the Ravager without being detected, this was their only chance. How far to the zone? Minji asked. 2 hours at current speed, Yoon replied. But I'm keeping us slow. No reason to announce we're coming, Minji nodded. She sat in the co-pilot seat watching the scanner displays. Behind her, Jinha checked their weapons inventory. They had small arms, nothing that would hurt the Ravager. But Minji wasn't planning to fight. Doyen sat at the sensor station, his eyes fixed on the tracking data. "I'm picking up debris," he said. "Old ship parts. Colony equipment. The Ravager has been dragging things into this area for months." "Building a nest," Minji said. "Maybe." Doyen adjusted the sensors. "There's something else too. Energy readings. Faint but consistent. Could be geological. This sector has a lot of asteroid activity." The shuttle moved silently through space. Outside the windows, stars drifted past. It looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. Hard to believe something deadly was waiting for them out here. Minji's communicator buzzed. She checked it. "A message from Hirin. Velthor knows you're gone. He's furious. Return immediately or face court-martial." Minji deleted the message without responding. There was no going back now. "Captain," Yoon said quietly. "We're approaching the zone perimeter." Minji leaned forward. The asteroid field ahead was dense. Thousands of rocks ranging from small boulders to massive chunks of stone several kilometers across. "Perfect hiding places. Take us in," Minji ordered. Slow and quiet, the shuttle slipped between the asteroids. Yoon navigated carefully, using minimal thrusters to avoid detection. The silence in the cabin was heavy. Everyone knew what they were risking. "Energy readings increasing," Doyen reported. "Source is about 3 kilometers ahead." He paused. "Captain, I think I found it." Minji pulled up his display. There, nestled in the center of the asteroid field, was something massive. It looked like a hollowed-out asteroid, but the inside had been modified, smoothed, shaped. "Is that artificial?" Jinha asked, leaning over to look. "No," Doyen said slowly. "It's biological. The Ravager did this. It carved out that space." Yoon brought the shuttle closer, using an asteroid for cover. They were within visual range now. Minji switched to external cameras. What she saw made her breath catch. The Ravager was inside the hollowed asteroid. Its massive body was coiled around something. It took Minji a moment to understand what she was seeing. Eggs, 7 of them, each one the size of a small ship. They pulsed with a faint bioluminescent glow. "Oh," Doyen whispered. "Oh, that explains everything." It did. The Ravager wasn't just a predator hunting territory. It was a parent. Every colony it had destroyed, every ship it had fought, had been too close to this place. Too close to its young. "The colonies," Minji said. "They were mining operations. They were probably planning to expand into this sector. The Ravager saw them as threats. It was protecting its children," Jinha said, his voice filled with wonder. Minji watched the creature on the screen. Even from this distance, she could see it was wounded. Scars marked its armor, burns from plasma weapons, holes where missiles had penetrated. It was hurt, but it was still here, still guarding. "What do we do now?" Yoon asked. "Good question." They had found what they were looking for. Confirmed Minji's theory. But how did that help? They couldn't fight the Ravager. They couldn't move it. And they certainly couldn't convince the Admiral to leave it alone while it sat on top of valuable mining resources. "We need to relocate it," Minji said slowly. "Find another sector. Similar environment, no strategic value. Somewhere it can raise its young without interfering with coalition operations." "How do we convince it to move?" Jinha asked. Minji didn't have an answer. You couldn't negotiate with an apex predator. You couldn't reason with it, or could you? "Doyen," she said. "You said the Ravager's behavior reminded you of Earth animals. Wolves protecting their den." "Yes," Doyen said carefully. "How do you move wolves? When they're in the wrong territory?" Doyen thought about it. Back on Earth, wildlife services use a few methods. Tranquilizers, relocation cages. But sometimes, if the animal is intelligent enough, you can guide it. Use food or barriers to encourage it to move on its own. "We don't have tranquilizers strong enough for that thing," Jinha pointed out. "And we definitely don't have a cage." "But we could guide it," Minji said. She was forming a plan, crazy and dangerous, but maybe possible. "If we can find a suitable location, we could create a path. Show it there's a better option. And if it doesn't want to move." Yoon asked. Before Minji could answer, alarms blared. "Contact!" Doyen shouted. "The Ravager, it's detected us!" The creature uncoiled from its eggs. Its head turned toward their hiding spot. Even through the asteroid, through the kilometers of space, Minji felt like it could see them. "Engines now," Minji ordered. "If we run, it will chase us," Yoon said, but her hands were already on the controls. "Wait." Doyen's voice was quiet but firm. "Don't run." Everyone turned to look at him. "If we run, we're prey," Doyen continued. He was staring at the screen, at the Ravager. It will hunt us. But if we don't act like prey, that's insane, Jinha said. Maybe, Doyen admitted. But think about it. Every ship that's encountered the Ravager has either attacked it or fled from it. What if we do neither? Minji understood what he was suggesting. It was insane. But it was also the only thing they hadn't tried. Hold position, she told Yoon. The Ravager moved out of its nest. It drifted toward their location, its massive body moving with horrible grace. Closer, closer, Captain, Yoon said, her voice tight. It's within attack range. Hold, Minji repeated. The Ravager stopped. It floated there, maybe 100 meters from their shuttle. This close, Minji could see every detail. The way its armor plates overlapped. The scars from old battles. The intelligence in its eyes. Yes, eyes. She could see them now. Not the mindless black orbs of a simple predator. These eyes were aware. Thinking, Doyen, Minji said quietly. You're the animal expert. What do we do? Doyen swallowed hard. Show submission. Show we're not a threat. Back away slowly. No sudden movements. No weapons active. Jinha, power down weapon systems, Minji ordered. Are you serious? Jinha asked. Do it. Reluctantly, Jinha shut down their defensive capabilities. The shuttle was now completely vulnerable. Yoon, back us away. Slowly. 5 meters at a time. The pilot engaged the thrusters with barely any power. The shuttle drifted backward. The Ravager watched. It didn't attack. It didn't move. They retreated another 5 meters. Then another. The creature's body pulsed with light. The same EMP pulse it used in combat, but weaker. Like it was testing them. Shields are flickering, Yoon reported. But holding, more retreat, more distance. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, the Ravager turned away. It drifted back to its nest, coiling around its eggs once more. The shuttle crew sat in stunned silence. Did that just work? Jinha whispered. It worked, Doyen said. He sounded shocked. It understood we weren't a threat. Minji let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Her hands were shaking. Okay, she said. Now we know we can approach without being killed. Next step, find a new home for it. Captain, look at this, Doyen said. He had been scanning the Ravager while they retreated. Those wounds. Some of them are infected. Poisoned, actually. Our weapons, they use a compound that's toxic to its biology. It's spreading. Minji looked at the scan data. He was right. The Ravager was dying. Slowly but surely, the Coalition's weapons were poisoning it from the inside. That changed things. If the Ravager died, its eggs would be unprotected. But more than that, Minji realized something else. The creature was fighting through poison and injury to protect its young. How many more battles could it survive? How much more damage could it take before it couldn't guard the eggs anymore? We need to help it, Minji said. Help it? Jinha stared at her. Captain, that thing has killed thousands of people. Because we invaded its territory, Minji replied. Because we threatened its children. If we heal it, if we help relocate it, maybe we can end this without more death. That's a big maybe, Yoon said. I know, Minji admitted. But it's the only maybe we have. She looked at her crew. 3 people, 1 small shuttle, against a creature that had defeated entire fleets, Doyen, she said. Can you synthesize something to counteract that poison? He checked his medical database. Maybe. We have supplies on board. It would take a few hours. Then get started, Minji ordered. Yoon, find us another sector. Similar environment, no colonies, no strategic resources. Somewhere the Ravager can live in peace. And what are you going to do? Jinha asked. Minji smiled grimly. I'm going to figure out how to convince an apex predator to trust us enough to let us treat its wounds.